What if I told you that the anxiety you feel, the panic that grips your chest, the dread that whispers in the back of your mind, may not be just chemical, circumstantial, or emotional, but spiritual? What if fear itself was not only a feeling, but a spirit, a force, a personality, a demonic assignment sent to torment, paralyze, and enslave? The Bible makes a shocking declaration in 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Did you catch it? Fear is not described as a fleeting emotion. It is identified as a spirit. That means fear is not just inside you, it is against you. It is not merely a reaction, it is an invader. And once it takes root, it spreads like poison, manifesting as anxiety, panic attacks, sleeplessness, depression, even physical illness, which raises the question, if fear is a spirit, how does it gain access to a person's life? What psychology calls trauma, Scripture also calls an open door. But fear doesn't stop there. It disguises itself as caution, as wisdom, as being realistic. It whispers, don't take that risk. Don't step out in faith. Don't trust. Don't hope. Don't believe. And so millions live small, paralyzed lives, never realizing they are listening to a voice that was never God's. So let me ask you, have you ever wondered why fear feels so powerful, so crippling? Why it comes with physical force, the racing heartbeat, the trembling, the paralysis? Could it be because it is more than emotion? It is a spirit pressing its weight against you. And if that is true, then here is the more terrifying question. How do you break it? The answer lies hidden in the Bible, in stories often overlooked. When Israel stood before the promised land, they were ready to enter. But 10 spies returned, saying, "The land devours its inhabitants. We are like grasshoppers in their sight." They were not describing facts, they were describing fear. And that fear, more than giants, more than armies, kept an entire generation from entering God's promise. Do you see it? Fear didn't just torment them, it robbed them, it rewrote their destiny. But 2 men, Joshua and Caleb, stood up and declared, "The Lord is with us, do not fear them." The difference? They refused to agree with the spirit of fear. They agreed instead with the Spirit of God. And that agreement determined who entered the promise and who died in the wilderness. This is the root you must see. Fear gains power not by existing, but by being believed. It thrives when you agree with its voice. And every time you let its whispers determine your choices, you strengthen its grip. Think about your own life. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because fear said, "You're not ready, you're not worthy, you will fail"? How many relationships sabotaged because fear said, "They will abandon you, so leave first"? How many callings silenced because fear said, "Who are you to try?" If you are honest, how much of your life has been authored? Because fear is not just psychological, it is spiritual, which means only a greater spirit can overthrow it, and the Spirit of God, who is love itself, is greater. Picture this: a person tormented for years by anxiety, sleepless, restless, trapped. But one moment in God's presence, one revelation of His love, that He is with them, that He will never leave them, and suddenly the power of fear snaps like a brittle chain. The panic fades, the dread lifts, peace invades, because love is not just an idea. Love is a person, and where He reigns, fear cannot. And this is where the mystery deepens. If fear is a spirit, then breaking it is not about fighting thoughts with thoughts. It is about resisting a personality. James 4:7 declares, "Resist the devil, and he will flee from you," which means fear is not something you manage. It is something you confront, something you rebuke, something you drive out. But here's the catch: you cannot cast out what you secretly agree with. You cannot break what you continue to feed. As long as you bow to fear's demands, it stays. Which means victory begins the moment you stop saying yes to its voice. Think of Peter stepping out of the boat to walk on water. For one moment, his eyes fixed on Jesus, he defied gravity. But when he looked at the wind and waves, when fear whispered, "You will sink," he began to drown. The water did not change. Jesus did not move. Only Peter's agreement shifted. And that single agreement determined whether he stood or sank. Now imagine if fear has been drowning you for years. What would it mean to finally fix your eyes on Christ? To refuse to believe the lie? To declare, "God has not given me this spirit. I will not bow to it anymore. This is not abstract. This is warfare, and your life depends on it." Because fear will always try to become the loudest voice in the room. But it is not the final voice, which brings me to you. If you've felt chained by fear, whether through anxiety, dread, panic, or constant worry, you are not alone. But you do not have to stay there. Even now, you can begin to break its grip. And one way to do that is right here. Press the like button, because when you do, you are declaring agreement with truth and helping this message spread to countless others who are fighting the same battle. Comment with the words, "I renounce fear," as a public act of resistance. And subscribe, because in the weeks ahead, we are uncovering even more hidden truths, mysteries of Scripture that will arm you against the unseen battles raging for your soul. But before this ends, let me leave you with the most important truth of all. Fear is not the final word over your life. Love is. Power is. A sound mind is. You were not created to live in dread, in panic, in paralysis. You were created to walk free. And the one who silenced storms, who commanded winds, who looked demons in the eye and told them to flee, that same one lives in you. Which means fear has no lasting claim. So the next time fear whispers, remember this: it is not your voice. It is not God's voice. It is a stranger, and you have the authority to shut it down. The spirit of fear may be ancient, it may be relentless, but it is not invincible. Break agreement with it, rebuke it, replace it with truth. And watch as chains you thought were permanent shatter in an instant, because fear is a liar, but love is eternal. And in the end, only one remains.